my van. I am in my van. I was coming out here to hang out while I was running errands and stuff and waiting for one of my kids from school. I was going to listen to a podcast, but I don't have any good podcasts to listen to right now. So I thought, why not make my own? So I am here to talk about random things, whatever you guys want to talk about. If you are here, let me know by hopping into the chat, because I still don't understand how to use this app. I don't know how to use it from the mobile. Most of my stuff is in my basement with all my equipment, and sometimes it's kind of fun just to change things up a little bit. But I thought I would start by talking about Eric Conn. Yes, who is Eric Conn, you might ask? Well, he's a guy. He's in Ogden, Utah, and trying to make a big name for himself via Twitter and by, just basically being like the rudest dude on the internet. And so he decided to tweet about Taylor Swift yesterday. And it's kind of shocking. It's shocking what he had to say. He's basically talking about how, hey, Brandon, what's up? He's talking about how Taylor Swift is old, because I guess Taylor Swift is the person of the year with Time magazine. And if you're like, why are we talking about Taylor Swift? I thought you talked about theology. Exactly. That's exactly what you should be asking. But apparently people still care about Time magazine and who's person of the year and whatnot. And so Eric Conn, who's that pastor, he's one of the Moscow, fanboys trying to do the same thing in Ogden, Utah with Brian Sauvé, I think is actually how you say it. I've heard some people say it, so I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. But Brian Sauvé and a few others there. And so he went at Taylor Swift for being old and liking cats. And then, if you're like, that's so weird, why would anyone do that? Well, that's a good question to ask. And also, because he knew it would get clicks. And what's even worse than that is after people start like calling him out on it, because he knows, it's the internet. It's the internet, it's Twitter. People are going to be upset about you talking bad about Taylor Swift. And then he just like straight up called her like a derogatory name that Santa says. Santa says, ho, ho, ho. And he took one of those words, and that's what he called Taylor Swift. And I'm thinking to myself, this dude's a pastor, like right now. Like, not, I used to be a pastor, not, I write books now, not, I'm here to like stir the pot online Christian. He says that he's a qualified elder, and a church has affirmed that. And he's online calling some random celebrity, all these names, and then saying something like that derogatory. And then, shocker of all shockers, all of a sudden, Mark Driscoll is releasing videos about Taylor Swift. And it got me thinking, like, how connected are these guys? Like, welcome to my van, where I just kind of put on my tinfoil hat and start talking about how I think a lot of these things are connected. I guarantee you that Mark Driscoll saw that and was like, I could do better. And so he puts out this thing where he's making fun of Taylor Swift. And essentially it plays like some of you guys know like about my like Ken Ham, like failed comedian stuff. Like, I know it's not funny. I know a lot of the jokes aren't funny. That's kind of the point. Like, the point is that he stinks at stand-up comedy, but he's trying to do it anyways. And to me, like, the awkward comedy is the funny part. But it kind of plays like that. That's what Mark Driscoll put online. But it's getting, thousands of views because it's Mark Driscoll and because it's Taylor Swift and because all these Christians are apparently now just like consumed with going at Taylor Swift. They're calling her like what was it? Like the leader of extreme feminism. What? She sings and performs. Like, I don't think I've ever heard Taylor Swift like put out a public statement of politics. of being like, oh, this is where I stand on things, and everyone who, supports me and comes to my concerts and buys my music, they should also view things the same way as me. I don't think I've ever heard that, but also I don't care about Taylor Swift. Here's the thing. Like, I think the last time I listened to a Taylor Swift song was probably at Walmart, like, years ago. Because I can put on music that I want, and I don't care about Taylor Swift, so I'm not putting that on. Much rather listen to old Blink 182 albums. So it's just so weird that we have like these guys online who think this is the way to get people to view my stuff is by hating on this person, calling her derogatory names. And she's obviously, like, I guess I shouldn't say obviously. I don't know. I don't know her lyrics of songs, but I would assume that she's not a Christian. And so then you got to take in the whole like testimony of it all. Now, obviously, Taylor Swift doesn't care. Like, she's not going to look up Mark Driscoll and be like, oh no, what is Mark Driscoll saying about me? Like she's way bigger than that. So she has no idea that this little Christian subset of the internet is like talking about her at all. But I do still think like it's a terrible testimony to be like, this is the way I'm going to get, more views. I'm going to get more followers is by taking someone who is probably not a Christian, calling her names online to use that as fuel to be like, this is what I'm about. It's just so dang stupid. Like, it's just, why are we doing this? Why are we having these conversations? But that's what they're all about. So it's just weird to see that. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Really, I want to see what you guys want to talk about. So let's see. Can I scroll on here? I can scroll on here. Okay, so Brandon's here. Heidi is here. What's up, Heidi? I just mowed my yard and now I need to weed it. But I would rather drink water and listen to you talk about Conn. Yeah, like doing stuff outside sucks. Like, that's why I'm in a van. I don't want to go outside. Steven says, I mean, who knew Taylor Swift had a cat, right? And also, like, these guys don't care anything about what Time Magazine says about any topic. So, like, why are they using it other than they like to call women names online? Like, that's the only thing I can come up with, because obviously they don't know Taylor Swift, right? Like, they've never gone to a concert. Like, maybe they've never gone to a concert in their lives, although I think Mark probably has. Eric, I don't know. But like they don't go to Taylor Swift concerts. They don't listen to her music. They don't know anything about Taylor Swift. So all they're doing is like, oh, this is a famous person. Let me attack the famous person in order for me to give Jesus to people. Like, if you're a Christian, like, that's the whole point, right? Like, so what? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Jeremy says he's in his car again. Yep. We're just waiting for my son to get out of school. We got about 20 minutes. Brandon says the misogyny is real. Britt, what's up, Britt? LOL, me buying all 3 covers of the Time magazine yesterday. Yeah, I mean, like, if you like Taylor Swift, then support her. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's just so weird. Brandon says evangelicals have the best priorities. It seems like it. I don't know if we could even call these guys. This is something. Evangelicals are supposed to be focused on the gospel, right? Like, we believe the gospel and we're focused on it. What do you call these people that are obviously not focused on the gospel? Like, I think we need new names. Maybe just, the new fundies. I really don't know, but I'm not kidding. I think we need to, like, seriously consider, like, taking these guys who are obviously out to promote their own names and don't care what they have to say, what they have to do online to get their names out there and to build their platform. Like, I think it's about time that we stop calling them evangelicals, because they're not about the gospel. Like, what clip that has gone around from, or tweet from Eric Conn, from Brian Sauvé, from Mark Driscoll, from, all these guys, what is it that's filled with the gospel? Like, they don't do that. They don't put that stuff out there. They just put all, like, the controversial stuff to try to get people, upset and build their platform off of anger, which, again, is just, like, who wants to do that? I don't understand. Like, I understand, like, how numbers work and analytics, and, there is something to, like, shocking people into watching your stuff. But even then, if you're going to do that, which I wouldn't do that, but if you're going to do that, at least you'd think you'd switch it up and be like, oh, but here's, what we really need to be talking about. But these guys don't even do that. They never get around to that, like that shift. So it's like, they're not evangelicals. I don't know what they are, but they're not evangelicals. Jeremy says, my girls care about Taylor Swift. Oh, okay. And Roland says, hey, who is Taylor Swift? I don't know. And Jeremy says, it makes no sense and far from it. Some of her lyrics are directly mocking Christianity, but even then, who cares? Yeah, I have never in my life looked up Taylor Swift lyrics, and I'm okay with that. My wife saw his tweet on Instagram and was like, who is this guy? She wasn't ready for how much I knew about Eric Conn. That's your fault, Dean. You're welcome, Jer. You're welcome. You're welcome, Internet. I will say, some people have reached out to me and really thanked me for putting out like those couple videos, even though honestly it was like the most difficult stuff I've done on YouTube, because I had to like look it up and watch all their stuff and read their stuff. And it was just so frustrating. And honestly, I felt like it very much is like that. Everyone in the room is now dumber for having listened to you. Like it kind of felt that way about that stuff. So, but I guess it's helped some people. Brandon says, I gotta deal with something real quick, maybe. No, I think she should be able to get it. Brandon says, my bad, Christian nationalists. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Maybe that's just what we call them. But I think at some point, like, Christian nationalism is growing in that people are like, why can't we love Jesus and work that into our politics too? Not in like the, trying to like reclaim this nation and like stuff like that. But I think that it's becoming more normalized, and maybe that's like a watering down of the title, but I think it's probably going to be a thing. Like not to where like all the people like, Doug Wilson and Stephen Wolf and all those people think it's going to be, but I think it's going to be something that is worked into like the far conservative evangelical landscape. So I don't know. Maybe we call him that. I don't know. I think we might have to come up with a different title. Heidi says, I'm sick of hearing about Swift. I live in Kansas City, and since she and Kelsey started dating, it's like everyone goes to small talk conversation. Yeah, well, yeah, I can see that. I don't care about Taylor Swift, and I'm kind of done like hearing about it. I will say it's kind of cool that at least she got more eyes on football. Like I kind of appreciate that, just as a sports guy, of being like, oh, she does bring a lot of people to come and watch the games, and probably a lot more people have been checking out the Chiefs because of her relationship with Kelsey. Britt says, in her Miss Americana docs, she does say she's a Christian, but I don't know her or if she still claims that. Yeah, I don't know. That might be like Bible Belt kind of stuff. I'm assuming she was like a country music star. I know she's gone like pop, but like, didn't she get famous from like a song with Tim McGraw or something like that? So I would assume like she's Southern. I'm assuming. I could be way wrong, but there's probably something like cultural Christianity is a part of that. And Vardenstein is here and says, too many streams going on. Is there? Is there too many? Here's the one that matters. It's the person in the van. That's how you know. That's how you know it's like the better thing to talk about. What do you guys want to talk about? I got time. Let me see something. Can I do this and it's still end, or was it still working? I have no idea. I had to answer a text. But we could talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Are you down by the river? Yeah. One of my favorites, man. My name is Matt Foley. I could do that whole skit, man. Like there were a few things that I had on my iPod video when I went to Bible college. And like that was like iPod videos were brand new. And so I had Zoolander 300 and then a bunch of SNL clips. And we couldn't watch TV because it was such a conservative school. Like you could watch sports, but you couldn't really watch anything else of value. So, or movies for that matter. You weren't supposed to, at least. So I watched everything on that iPod over and over and over again. So I have a lot of Chris Farley's like skits Sketches. So sorry, SNL fans. Sketches. I have them memorized. So give us a motivational speech. I can't do it. I don't have energy for that, Jer. That's what you're doing. Jer's doing some stuff for men. If you want to be a man, go to Jeremy Collins' videos and you'll find out how to be a man, or at least how to buy for one. Person in a car with sunglasses on. You know that's a meme. Oh, is it? Is it? Brandon says you should listen to your friend Billy Zane. Vardenside, what type of van? It's a Kia. It's a Kia Sedona. That's what I rock. I rock in my Kia Sedona, like a man. Like it, vans. I used to be like, I don't want a van. Felt like a Charger, but you aren't going to get stopped by the cops every 5 seconds. So, I really like that car, but we had to go with a van because we had the third kid, and it's like, the whole family has to ride together. Dean, stop trying just to take the two older ones. Dean, we still have a baby. Dean, it's just like, oh my goodness. So now we do the van. Dean, how will you know when your YouTube channel has arrived? No clue. Will it ever? I don't know. When will I know? When TGC reaches out to me and asks me to do a review of one of their books, because that they don't give a crap about the videos. Like they're too big, they haven't seen it, and so eventually at some point one of these companies I've talked about is going to reach out to me, not knowing who I am, but knowing the views and the clicks, and they're going to be like, could you review this? And then I'll know that I've arrived, because obviously they don't know who I am, but they still want to use me. And I think that's going to happen at some point. Also, I keep a memory. I've reached out to some companies asking, if they would open up their the author of this book. This was a year ago, but open up the author of this book, give me their email. Maybe I could interview them. I've done that a few times, and crickets, never got anything back. Or some of these Bible companies like Crossway and Thomas Nelson and a few others reach out to them of being like, hey, could you send a Bible or a book and I could review it and then maybe possibly talk to the author, and they just never got back to me. And, I'm going to remember that. So I have a long memory. I'm Italian, okay? We keep a grudge. Kias are sick. Are they? I want a Jeep. I'm tired of Kias and vans. We got 3 kids, so we can fit them in a Jeep. I want a Jeep. Wow, that skipped fast. We went with a Traverse 3rd row, but not a van. Yeah. I had a Chevy Trailblazer for a while. I like that quite a bit, but it got hard. Moving the seats. My kids are still pretty young. I think now my oldest is getting old enough that he could, figure out how to use a lever. But apparently it was too hard at 6 years old. So, but maybe 7th, Noxie 7th. I don't know. A deer injured our Chevy Uplander. Now we have a red Dodge Caravan. Let me know what your cars are. Do you ever stream from your car? Let me know that too. Crossway lets you review stuff for free. I mean, yes, but they'll only send you first, it's different in the States than it is with Canada. There's this whole thing where they will not send anything to Canada. So there's that. But also the way that they wanted to back in the day, this was before the YouTube channel. This is just writing reviews for them on my blog. But they wanted me to only do digital, and that sucks. I don't care about a digital ebook. I want an actual book. A message got deleted. That's what I do, Jeremy says. Heidi says, love my MI. What is an MI? Is it Michigan? Danny says, just upgraded to a 19 Pilot from an 03. Great for kiddos. Yeah, someday, guys. We're working on a house. We might be moving here pretty quick, so that would be amazing. open up some opportunities for the studio. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. Heidi says, love my minivan. I have a fit. I have fit a love seat and full couch in the back at the same time. I'm sorry, I can't read. Did you watch the last stream on Monday? I'm pretty sure I can't read. It's just like I have words memorized. I don't know how to read. It's a Honda, and I treat it like a truck. Yeah, I do the same thing with this thing. It's big. It's big enough, so we just cram whatever in it. Kids, luggage, furniture, whatever. As long as it fits, we can go. So, Noxie says Honda Pilot and Toyota Camry. Ooh. Yeah, I like Hondas. Hondas are pretty nice. They're just expensive. Heidi says, sorry, sent half a message. I don't forgive you. No. What else do you guys want to talk about? We don't have to talk about vehicles. We could talk about we could talk about what else is there? Is anything happening in Christianity? What are some questions you might have? I might not be able to answer them here on the spot, but I could take screenshots and come back, and I do want to start making more shorts on my channel. Hopefully that won't just get me hated. I think I've learned like not to make shorts about people unless I want that message really getting out. Because if I say anything about, Doug Wilson, then all the Doug Wilson fanboys watch it and they hate me. Or if I say anything about John MacArthur, same thing. Francis Chan, same thing. So I've learned to not do those. Even though they get views, it's just not fun. It's not fun to deal with all that stuff. But I think I do want to do more shorts that are more aimed at questions that you guys have, because I'm not the smartest guy. Like, I've learned that. Like, I used to think like I was pretty clever and smart and, I can answer questions on the spot. And then some people ask me some really hard questions. And I was like, I cannot answer that. So I think I'm going to be making short videos answering your guys' questions. And like maybe every once in a while throwing it into the community tab of like, hey, do you got a question? Throw it in the comments section, yeah, maybe doing that. But I could also I could try to answer them here. Heidi says, LOL, whatever, Dean. It's, you know what you did. You know what you did. Citrion C4 Space Tourer. Welcome to Europe, friends. I've never heard of that in my life, Steven. Sounds awesome, though. Sounds like something you would like hear on like Dune, maybe. Like, is this a vehicle on Arrakis? What is going on? Noxie says, for what it's worth, I'm a big fan of the lives from the car. Keep them coming. You like listening to people ramble? Is that what it is? You like just goofing off and having shaky video? Let's talk about The Chosen. Did you see Alan Parr told all Christians to go watch it? Did he really? Don't mess with me, Jeremy. Did he really? Like, did he commend it? Isn't that kind of turn of face for him? Like, I don't watch Alan Parr very much, but I was pretty sure that he was like really skeptical about it, right? I did see that there was a video because, I just see stuff and thumbnails pop up and I'm like, ooh, that's a cool thumbnail. But I didn't click on it because I don't really care about The Chosen, obviously, because their fans are psychotic. But that would be kind of weird to just be like, every Christian should go and watch this. Because there's a lot that has to factor into that. You gotta have a clear conscience to do that. But okay. Bringing some spice to the stream, I see. Yeah, with The Chosen. Why? Because The Chosen sucks? I wonder why they don't like me. All right. I don't know if it sucks. I just don't care to watch it. Let's talk about smoking meat. What is the most adventurous thing you have ever smoked? I did 2 turkeys this year. I don't do smoking. I don't smoke. I don't smoke anything. Not cigars, not pipes, not other things, not meats either. Mostly because I don't know how. I would love to, and I would eat all the smoked meats, but I have never done that. I do barbecue. I've become a little bit of a grill master. When it comes to chicken, I do a lot of chicken stuff. But no, I haven't done any real smoking, so I can't really answer that. I did, well, I guess technically I smoked ribs once, in my barbecue. Like you get like those, cast iron little boxes. You can put wood chips in and you kind of burn the chips and then keep like this really low flame. You put the meat on the other side and you just kind of smoke it from there. But it doesn't feel like it's a real smoker. It feels like it's cheating. And so I don't know. I'm not good at that. What is your view on Lordship salvation? I'm conflicted on the issue. I have answered this so often. I need to go and clip this one out because, man, a lot of people have questions about Lordship salvation. Anything that brings in obedience into the conversation for that initial moment of justification, to me, is a works-based salvation. So if you say you have to submit to the Lordship of Christ and yield to him everything, I don't see that in the gospel message. I don't see that in 1 Corinthians 15, verses 1 and 2. Now, there are ramifications of your justification, but that's called sanctification. That is the working of the Holy Spirit, not at that moment of you having faith. So if you bring a work into it, like, and some people will be that way with Lordship salvation. Some people are like, no, I just mean like, submitting to Jesus. And that doesn't mean like you've given up all of your sinful desires and, like you've become in that moment like perfectly yielded to Christ, and then stuff happens later. But yeah, so it's hard. You got to have conversations with people. But I would say that, yeah, if you bring any kind of work into that moment of justification, then it's not justification by faith alone. So I would have big problems with it. Now, I don't believe in Lordship salvation at all. I do think that Christians struggle with sin. That's what Paul talks about. When I read Paul, I don't really hear Lordship salvation. So I would just say it's a no-go. But if other people disagree with me, but they're still willing to say, yes, you don't have to have any works, then we could have conversations and it's fine. Have you tried John Cooper's beard oil? No. I use, what do I use? Gillette? Something. It's not like Gillette, like the razors. It's like a different kind of Gillette. It's like KC Gillette or something like that up here in Canada. So I use that stuff. I get it at Walmart. Oh, I just got to jump to another stream so I can ice mug. Okay. Having to answer questions live on YouTube is a quick way to humble anyone, right? I found that out. Like one, who was it? Patty Winky asked me I forget what the question was. But it was just like, some of you guys know Patty Winky. He hops into the chat every once in a while, watches stuff. But he just asked me like this really pointed, hard question in an AMA. And I remember just being like, I have no freaking clue what he's even talking about. And it's like, I have 3 degrees. I should be able to know this stuff. And I read a lot. Like, shouldn't I, be able to answer it? But couldn't do it. So that's why most of the streams I do now are chill streams, not AMAs, because some people are way smarter than me and they just ask really hard questions and I do not know what they're even asking sometimes. But then again, some people ask me things and I don't think it's necessarily because of like a higher intellect that I don't understand. It's just sometimes I just don't understand what people mean. So that's also part of it. Just want more content for the penalty box. Do you really? We get enough of that. I almost thought about doing a stream this week of just penalty box because I've gotten so much stuff over the last week and a half because like my streams were a little bit in between. So there's like an overlap and, yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. I watched this whole 25-minute video. I think it was weak. Well, it sounds like Alan Parr. All right. Smoked Thanksgiving turkey this year. Sweet. That sounds awesome. With you, Dean, on The Chosen, if others want to watch it, more power to them, but it's not for me. It's kind of where I'm at. I don't really care if anyone watches it. I just think you got to think through some of the issues. Like, I know like people are like, of course I'm not going to worship this actor. But then again, you look at some of the comments I get on that short video that I did, and you're like, you might be worshiping that dude. So like, you got to think through some stuff. Matthew Musgrave says, if the Lord of the Rings had psychotic fans back when the movies came out, would you have avoided watching those masterpieces? maybe. If I made a video about me debating whether I wanted to see it and the whole fan base came at me and said, like, you're an idiot for it, I probably wouldn't watch them. So, yes. Are you even reformed if you don't smoke? I don't know. Maybe. I feel like there has been a concerted effort to kick me out of Reformed theology over the last year. Like, I've had so many people who come into chats and different things and have different programs, and they're like, "Oh, very excited," and then like some guy I talk about, they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you talked about that guy." So I don't know. They're like, I don't get that many like naysayers, but there's a few. So I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I belong in Reformed theology world anymore. But I am Reformed. My theology hasn't changed. It's just, touch not God's anointed, which is mostly Doug Wilson, apparently. Return of the King turns 20 this month. That's insane. Oh my goodness. Thanks, Matt. Clears it up. Theocast just did a video about obedience. Didn't watch it, but I think it's about this issue. Yeah, I think it's kind of about a lot of it, like lordship, salvation, final justification, federal vision, all that stuff. Dude, it's awesome. Aaron got me a smoker, and I can run it from my phone. It is awesome. Any chosen hater could do this. Oh, yeah, I want to get one of those. Like I saw a Bluetooth like thermometer, like a meat thermometer, and you just stick it in there and you know exactly what the temperature is all the time. That's awesome. Matt says, also, Dean isn't aggressive enough to really be a 1689 Baptist. Apparently I'm not reformed enough, which is always so funny to me. I have always been like the most reformed guy wherever I go, except for the internet. Like, they're just like, you ain't even. What podcast do you listen to? Like, I don't know. Not many. But Vardenstein, I meant to say win a mug, not eins a mug. German autocorrect. I don't know. Evan Williams, I used to watch The Passion of the Christ a lot, and then when I was meditating on the word, I started to see the actor as Jesus. I think that's the danger of any visual representation. Agreed. And that's just something I think you got to think through. And if you're like that kind of person that's inclined to that, then maybe you shouldn't be watching The Chosen. But I don't know if you are or not, so I'm not going to make a decision for anybody. Crusader says, I love John MacArthur. He is my guy, but he's not immune to criticism, especially with Mrs. Greaves. Who's Mrs. Greaves? Is that one of the ladies who was kicked out of the church? Eileen Gray is the one that I remember, but there were a couple. Yeah, I definitely don't like John MacArthur. So yeah, you like who you like. Matt says, and I agree with Lordship salvation, full submission to God is the end goal. It isn't how we are saved. It is our sanctification. Agreed. You're reformed enough to come hang out with us presbys. Let's just straighten out that baptism thingy. Make me. It's not going to happen. Matt says, sorry, your view on Lordship salvation. Oh, yeah. Okay. Noxie says, I'm fairly convinced that people mean very different things when they use the phrase Lordship salvation. I go back to the debate in the 80s, and it seems very different by what many people mean today. Yeah, I think pretty much a lot of these theological terms, everybody has their own definition. It's one of the reasons why it makes answering like these like really hard, complex theological questions in just an AMA pretty difficult, because I don't know where you're coming from, and I don't know everything that you mean by that, and I have my own meaning of it. It's the same thing with Calvinism, right? Like I'm up here in Canada, and I can tell you for a fact that there were so many people who heard I was a Calvinist and were like very concerned, because there were dudes out east who were crazy about it and like split churches over it and made it like this like dividing doctrine. And like Canada's pretty small. The evangelical world is pretty small here. Baptist world, much smaller, right? So like they were like, oh my goodness, Dean's one of those crazy Calvinists. It's like, no, I'm not. but they had to talk to me in order to find that out, and some of them weren't willing to even do that. So like they will always just think I'm a crazy Calvinist because of all those guys. So they assume all that same stuff to me, and so that conversation could be, about lordship salvation or any kind of, subset of theology. You got all this bias, all this personal baggage that you bring to all these titles. So it's you gotta find out what people are talking about. So as a general idea, I agree with you, Noxie. I think of the 1980s. I think of what John MacArthur was pushing, and I still disagree with a lot of that. But also, like, not going full antinomian there. So there's also that. Graves, I meant Mrs. Graves. Okay. Matt Willie, Reformed Baptist is the end goal of being Reformed. Yes. Cage stage Calvinism is something we could do without. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I know people say like cage stage Calvinism is like this thing that everybody goes through. I never went through that. Like, I don't know people who have really gone through that. I've known a lot of guys who went from, being against Calvinism to being for it. And I don't know their personal lives. It's always like, ministry friends and stuff. So like, you don't know until you're like there on the ground working shoulder to shoulder with people about how they really are with their congregation. But I'm assuming that they didn't go like full cage stage. At least I didn't see it. So like, I don't understand. I think it's just extreme people be extreme, and maybe they mellow out after a while of being extreme. But I think that's just like the kind of person you are. I don't think that every Christian goes through, like, if you become a Calvinist, which you should, but if you become a Calvinist, that you automatically go to like this cage stage default mode, and then you kind of work yourself out of that. Like, I haven't seen that. I definitely, I don't know. Like, I think of myself very highly, like anyone does, right, about themselves. So maybe I'm biased, but I don't think I ever went through that. And I think if you talk to people around me, they'd be like, yeah, I don't think so. Vardenstein says, I got a question. I've been confused on how you can be saved by solely grace, but the passage on being lukewarm sounds contradictory to saved by faith. Why? I don't know. Like, I don't know what you mean by like how it seems contradictory. Like, there are people who are believers and still act very worldly, and they're immature. And I think that's probably what he's talking about, being lukewarm. I don't know. Like, here's the question. Is the lukewarm Christian that Jesus is talking about in Revelation, is that person saved or not? That's a question for you guys in the chat. Because I think a lot of people just assume that like this person is obviously not an actual Christian. So that's what it means by lukewarm. Definition of terms is so important. It's part of the issue with DW. Use many of the same terms, but a very different definition. Yeah. Also, I'm Canadian too. Are you? You keep on typing in different languages, which obviously we got a lot of languages here in Canada. But I assumed you were like in Germany or someplace like that. But all right. Well, I'm an immigrant too. So I did for a little while going through cage stage, had to be reminded of the importance of humility. Did your wife help you with that? They often do. Brandon says, never go full cage stage. Try not to. I think part of the cage stage is because of the internet and getting into bubbles. Oh, man. Matt, you're right on there. I think that's a huge part of it, is that people just like, they get sucked into this world and they just get consumed with it. And I think that's what Samuel James and a few of these other guys have been trying to hit on with like this, like letting the fight like live in your heart. Like that you like get online and you see all this extreme stuff, so you think it's everywhere. I think that's what people have been trying to hit on, but they've been hitting on that stuff with the wrong subject matter. like you shouldn't be so concerned about people being upset about abuse. Like maybe there are other things, like, like whether the American flag should be on the podium, or on the stage at church or whatever, or whether it should be called a stage. That's something like that for people. And if you're getting worked up over those things and like getting all up in a tizzy about Taylor Swift online, then maybe you're part of that. But I think that there are some things that we should get outraged about. Calvinism shouldn't be one of them. Aaron says, I went through a cage stage. My wife got the brunt of it. That's pretty typical. I would probably say like the most extreme parts of it, or at least seeing me act out in those extreme ways, probably Heather saw more than anyone else. So she might be able to give a better answer of whether I ever went through a cage stage period. But I would say that I don't think so, or at least not typical to where, some of these guys are like, yeah, I get in debates online all the time. I've never really cared about debating online. I just say what I have to say when no one's paying attention, I would say not saved for lukewarm. Okay. I have a video about this very passage in Revelation. Ooh, self-promotion, Jer. It's okay. If Jeremy or John wants to promote their stuff in my chat, that's fine. Other people, maybe not so much. But what else do you say? People misread that passage, misread that passage all the time. All right, well, maybe check out Jeremy's video. Is it a person or referring to the church, the local church there? Yeah. I'm Mennonite, hence the German. I live in Saskatchewan. Oh, do I know you? Where are you? Are you over? Is that you? Are you in the truck over there? Is that you? Noxie says that lukewarm text is hugely misunderstood. God isn't saying, I wish you were hot or cold. Hot, cold were both good, healing, refreshing. It's lukewarm that is rejected by God. Yeah. I would say it's about usefulness. Every water, like what you're saying, hot or cold, they both have uses. Like there's a specific use case for cold water, a specific use case for hot water, but water that's just lukewarm, it's just not useful. And I think that that's what God is trying to say. He's not trying, he is saying that Christians should be useful. And you could have been useful in your context, but because you're lukewarm, you're not really helping. So maybe you should start helping. So maybe get hot. And we can figure out a use case for you. Cage stage, yes, I did, says Stephen. I think so many things click into place that one gets a little overexcited and you get annoyed that others can't see it, which is a foolish and damaging attitude in hindsight. Yeah, I think I could agree with that. Like, maybe you don't act out on it as much, but you do think about it and you're just like, why can't you see that? It's pretty obvious to me. Why can't you see that? Matt says some of cage stage starts with being excited about something new, wanting to tell everyone about it. Yes, it stems from passion. Like you get really passionate about it. And I've said this before, that Calvinism is such like an extreme ideology that, if you believe it, like you're like, oh, this is it, right? Like I've figured out exactly where I stand on this controversial issue, and it's such an extreme position that you're just like, I gotta maybe act out, on that extreme position and be extreme too. But you don't have to. Leonard says, not sure a cage stage is appropriate for someone in a pastoral position. Yeah. I mean, again, depending on how you act out on that. Like some people talk about cage stage and they're mostly just talking about just being passionate. But if you're being a jerk, then yeah, that's called being a bully. And the Bible does talk about that as far as the qualifications of a pastor. Matt says, but yeah, the more we believe it, the more it should humble us. Exactly. I haven't read the book, but J.D. Metters, who works with Acts 29, he wrote a book. I think Jared did a book review of it, like Humble Calvinist or something like that. Like, maybe check it out. Vardenstein says, where are you in Canada? Saskatchewan. Well, I'm parked right next to you. You're in the truck, right? So, Humble Calvinism is very good. Okay, cool. You've read it. I have not. So, all right, that's about it. My kids should be getting out of school here in just a minute. But this has been another dispatch in the van streams. Wearing a Vans hat. In my van, talking to the internet. and now it is over. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next one.